Well, that was quite the finale. Let's get into it. First up, Tumbleton. The show edition of Tumbleton is mostly unrecognisable to the book version for a lot of reasons. First off, Daemon's not even there, so that's a huge factor in of itself. Secondly, it's actually the Greens assaulting and taking Tumbleton from the Blacks, so that's a huge switch up. Team Black rock up to the party with 9,000 men, consisting of various houses and what's left of the Winter Wolves, which is around 500 of their initial 2,000 men at this point, against the Ormond Hightower's force of 20,000 men. It looks like lights out, but Team Black have both Vermithor and Silverwing alongside them, so maybe not as cut and dry. As people fled Bitterbridge to Tumbleton after Ormond's arrival, he has Hightower troops infiltrate the refugees fleeing and get inside of Tumbleton. 6,000 of the Black troops meet Ormond's host in a pitched battle and get their shit rocked and retreat into Tumbleton. As Roddy and the boys attempt to catch Ormond in the flanks and sallied forth from a gate on the Hightower left flank, here, Big Roddy cuts his way through to Ormond Hightower. Before he can kill the Lord Hightower, his shield arm is severed, much like in the show, by Ormond's cousin. But Roddy wasn't done yet and kills both Ormond and his cousin before succumbing to his wounds. With the Greens losing their commander, Team Black think they have it in the bag because despite Dessarion being a threat, he's nowhere near the size of Silverwing and Vermithor, who have yet to join the battle until now. Both Mummy and Daddy take to the skies, and Team Black are hyping them up, thinking this is lights out for the Hightowers, until both Vermithor and Silverwing start burning the shit out of Tumbleton, with the Black Army inside of it. Daeron the Daring uses Dessarion to start burning whatever of the Black Army is outside, causing the deaths of Pate of Longleaf, who had killed Jason Lannister, and Garibald Grey, whom Oscar Tully has taken the role of this season. He is the guy who says the lines like the bones and tombs, etc. to Criston Cole. The Black Army had also recruited 2 traitors on their march to Tumbleton, Lord Corn and Lord Borny, and they attacked the Black forces from within Tumbleton and opened the gates. It was an absolute shit-kicking for Team Black, and was almost a decisive victory for Team Green, considering the Blacks had lost 2 dragons and almost 9,000 men? From that description alone, you can see how much the show has changed. Hugh hasn't really betrayed Team Black yet. Ulf, however, has betrayed bloody everyone, and good for him.
Fuck you too.
Ulf is the guy I understand the most from this season, and it's great to see some of Daemon and Rhaenyra's mistreatment of him by Team Black bite them in the ass. Unfortunately for Ormond, he didn't get bitten in the ass, rather, fucked. Before I move on though, the dragonseeds, such as Hugh and Ulf, are badly mistreated in both shows and books. In the books, Ulf and Hugh are made knights, but the prospect of owning land is always dangled in front of them. Initially, there is an idea of marrying them to the daughters of Lord Stokesworth and Rosby to inherit their lands. This was shot down though, as both lords still had sons, and usurping their claims in favour of the daughters would have caused a huge backlash for Rhaenyra. Hers was a special case. But then it gets worse because the ideas of giving them Castle Rock and Old Town is thrown in, but again used to break the enemies and no seriousness attached to it. So at this point, the dragonseeds are putting in solid shifts without any rewards, and now they're just like, fuck it. Let's see what the other side is offering. Remember, boys and girls, if you want to get more pay, you need leverage. Good luck getting a dragon to be that leverage though. The TV adaptation of the battle was very interesting to watch, and we had Team Green using kids as human shields, which I have a bone to pick with, and we'll talk about that later. We got a fucking ditch. My god, a ditch. It's more beautiful than Dreamfire. We had Team Black bursting through the gates in style, hashtag fuck them kids, Daemon having to hop on and off a dragon and onto a horse like it's a game of Battlefield was pretty funny too. It was possibly also our first time seeing some Valyrian Steel on Valyrian Steel action, with Daemon fighting John Roxton wielding the sword Orphan Maker, and Daemon wielding Dark Sister. The battle scenes themselves felt extremely tense, as I thought even Daemon was going to get minced, and I've read the books. They kept Roddy killing Ormond in more brutal fashion. I loved the details of Ormond's teeth going bye-bye after having them smashed in by the shield. Gwaine Hightower never knowing how to feel with how much the pendulum swung back and forth, Caraxes hounding Silverwing at the end and Vermithor following up because, you know, he's Silverwing's husband and he's ride or die with her. Team Black ultimately lost a large part of its army and it's likely in complete disarray. Ulf has absolutely decimated a large portion of it. The Winter Wolves are extinct, Team Green are leaderless, Ormond is dead, and Gwaine and Daeron are alive with bold John fucking Roxton. So somebody is going to have to step up to the plate. It felt as if everyone had their moment to shine in this battle. I will give props that this season finale did feel like a worthy season-ending episode in comparison to last season's. Over in King's Landing, and things get a little fucky. Rhaenyra hears of Aegon's survival and completely loses the plot. She kicks out Mysaria, which was basically her conscience at this point, and tells Daemon to go full fucking bore, but not like too much, but kinda. She then rocks up to the High Septon, which is basically the Pope in his Vatican, and kills his ass. Then steps out and tells everyone how she's the intended Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. She's basically just had a complete mental break, but it feels so sudden that I don't quite buy it. It's as if she's deceived herself into thinking Aegon was truly dead.
I'm alive!
And that his revival is shocking to her. That her and Mysaria sleeping together last episode could be completely erased because it doesn't add anything. I thought it was Mysaria getting her claws into Rhaenyra, but she gets a P45 next episode without a problem. If this version of Rhaenyra had come earlier, even as far back as season 2, when she hears the news of Lucerys, I would have brought it. Even post Jacaerys. But because there's been time between it, the inciting incident here doesn't feel earned. That's not to say I don't think the acting or performance is bad. I think Darcy's performance has been fantastic and was a blast to watch this episode. The way Rhaenyra snatches Baela's jaw was definitely a moment. The way she urges Alan to kill the High Septon, I wish we had gotten this Rhaenyra earlier and each death of a son just pushes her into being the more monstrous queen. Anyway, the one thing I wanted to call out was the handling of children as human shields. I'm fine with it. That was Ormond's plan all along, and I love that even Roddy the Ruin spared no child either, as he gave one the business end of an axe and Daemon reluctantly burned the children placed in front of the gates. It shows both sides are monstrous and willing to commit atrocities for their side to win. They do not care about the small folk if they are an inconvenience.
Two already!
I'm on 17!
I'll have no pointy ear outscoring me!
Well, I remember Condor specifically mentioning some of the difficulties of doing Blood and Cheese was working with kids, the brutality of the scene. That irks me because of what we've seen in this episode, and that Blood and Cheese could have still been brutal but artistically shot to reduce the need for child actors to be in front of it. It's not the fucking Evil Dead where people need to be bathed in blood. It's more a fact that the characters' reactions of seeing this is more important. And that leads me into the shots being taken at Martin. Martin famously wrote about the effects of toxic butterflies with the removal of Maelor Targaryen, Aegon and Helena's third child, and now George doesn't even recognise this story as his anymore. In an earlier episode, Helena was writing her diary and it makes reference to toxic butterflies. Well, now Helena just tossed herself out the window and Alicent is made aware of this by butterflies around her taking off. From what we've heard of Martin recently, it doesn't seem like the old guy is doing too great mentally. And this just felt rather petty from the showrunners. I mean, George may have fired the first shot with the blog post, but I thought it was refreshing to hear an author's thoughts on their work and see some of the inside of the mechanics of the business and process. This isn't a piece of work that George has given you some cliff notes of how it ends. Fire and Blood is effectively an outline of the story of plenty of details penciled in that you could take away and adapt with some freedom due to the narrative structure. But a lot of what's happened is discarding of details for the showrunner's preferred theme and topics, not what was actually in the story. Helena's death here makes even less sense, but hey, overall, I thought it was a fun season. A bit slow in the middle, much like season 2 with some awkward positioning and timing of events, but Tumbleton definitely delivered. On one hand, I would have liked if they announced season 4 would have 10 episodes instead of 8, but in reality, I think it's actually more of a pacing problem the writers have versus budgetary. They are stretching big events so far apart or sticking characters in situations that take too long because we need to wait till the end of the season for a big payoff for them. Very rarely do characters get payoffs within episodes. Think back to season 1 of Game of Thrones, where Arya wants to be different and not learn ladylike ways. Problem. End of episode, she meets Syrio and has her first water dancing lesson. Solution. Episodes rarely feel self-contained and are setting up this wider tapestry, but sometimes it's nice to get these small wins or rounding things out in an episode. Anyway, what did you guys think of this season?